kickstart the session with Vita, then sort of try and make it as free-flowing as possible. Vita, if you could, we've been talking about this all morning. There's Rahul. Rahul, thank you very much for joining me. As I said, another significant entrepreneur who's doing tremendous amount of work on Indian sport. What happened to this? Yeah, there you go. So, Vita, question for you before I go to Rahul and Kaushik. Tell me a little bit more, because the Indian scenario is so challenging, Vita Dani. You have been fronting the foundation. You've been investing in sports leagues like table tennis, where the ROI is not as much as maybe cricket, but you're seriously spending money there trying to bring in societal change. So what's the ROI? Does it even bother you? Because the kind of work you have done over the last 5 years, you and Jalaj and your foundation, has been quite stellar. So first comments from Vita Dani, please.
First of all, thanks, Boria, for having me over. For me, ROI in sports is not really return on investments, but that return has to be in terms of achievements as far as India and Indian sport is concerned. For the first time, if you see Indian table tennis, where both men and women's team has qualified, and women's team, as a matter of fact, even reached the quarterfinals. So I think that's the greatest ROI one can ever ask for, besides a medal, of course. And just like it is most important for a sports person to get a medal, for me, the return has to be in terms of performance. When we started our journey in table tennis, there were about 3 men in top 100 and 1 woman in top 100. Today, if I look at it, we have 5 men, 6 men and 5 women in top 100. And that itself is a great start. It's a fantastic achievement. And as a matter of fact, my league is going on just now. So I was talking to one of the players, and she said, earlier when we used to look at our draw and we used to say that, there's an Indian in the draw, But now when we look at our draw and we say, oh my God, there's an Indian in the draw, that itself is a great ROI for me. So that's as far as table tennis is concerned. And it's not only the professional league, which is one of the most popular leagues in the world, but we are also supporting all the national ranking and championship across all age categories in India. We are looking at city-based leagues. We look at grassroots, where we do municipal school program. We do school programs. And we are willing to do a lot more. We've started a transformation of society in sports as well. And it's just the beginning. I can only tell you this, Boria, that India is at that point of time in life where we are just budding with our sporting talent, a country of 1 billion people. I don't see why we cannot become a superpower as far as sports is concerned. Thank you.
Thanks, Vita, for the opening comments. And I go to Rahul on that, but what she said, and that's the point. I mean, when you talk about 6 medals, and the issue was raised in one of the morning panels, it's not about the 6 medals. It's also about the overall growth. It's about the progress and process. I mean, the 2 teams that she mentioned, the table tennis teams, they might not have won medals at the Olympic Games, but when you see the larger picture, you see significant progress, and it will take time. Rahul, the question that I want to ask you, and you have been seriously investing in Paralympic sport, and not many do that. I mean, in a couple of days' time, and by the way, I'm expecting to see you in Paris in some days, this is essential. That it reflects on who we stand for as a society, Rahul Todi, by seeing the way our Paralympic athletes are recognized and respected. In our case, this wasn't the thing in India, say till 10 years back. London, we had 1 medal, 5 athletes. Rio, 19 athletes and only 4 medals. Tokyo was a transformation with 19 medals and 54 athletes. And now we are talking about 30 medals and 84 athletes. And you're part of that story. Can you tell me your vision, Rahul Todi, about supporting the Paralympics and the Paralympic Games in India and what it means to you as a corporate?
Thank you, Boria, and thank you guys for having me. Thanks to Desi and the Neom Business School for having me. Sorry I wasn't there physically, but I hope to visit you guys soon. And as Boria said, I hopefully will be there at the business end of the Olympics. and I need to thank you, Boryada, for this, because you are the one who brought me into Paralympics, and and I know you were quite reluctant. I don't know, but you were very worried that I'm entering new into sports and you're getting into Paralympic. Uh, Honestly, for me, the decision was not why am I doing it. It was more that why shouldn't we be doing it. It's India we are talking about. It's Olympic medals we are talking about, and their stories. And I'm really mesmerized at times when I interacted with them during the various interactions we had with the team, and with the players who were first going for the Tokyo athletic event, and then we met the team going for para as well. The rest of the Shachi team, which is involved in working with them, have also met them. Some of these athletes are now working in Shachi system, in Shachi sports and infrastructure businesses as normal employees. And they are helping us understand these athletes and these people much more. And some of the stories, and Boryada there knows some of the stories, some of my colleagues who are here have also experienced those stories where they had so much disadvantage in life right from the beginning, or due to some circumstantial reasons. But for them to be able to achieve medals where in normal Olympics are still not reaching. From day one, you got Boryada, the whole Paralympic team, including our president, Mr. Jhajar, and Rahul Swami, and Mr. Sangwa, and the whole teams and the coaches have said 30, and then I think 25 became a more able time. But honestly speaking, even if they participate and we have respectable performances, it's an achievement. Because although I wouldn't say I'm in sports just for the passion and just for the for the benefit of society, I believe para is not a sport at the moment to think that. But para is more a more larger inclusive plan which we have is to create a great healthy lifestyle. My one of my original businesses or where I come from is real estate. We have been in the infrastructure space. We have created housing for all walks of life, PW.
I think there's a bit of an internet issue with Rahul. I'll come back to Rahul. But Vita, like I asked you, 1.3 billion people and 6 medals. And it is not a number that we are proud of. But how do you counter that? Because people do not know the ground reality of what is going on, and the global media highlights that, or the Western media highlights that. How do you counter that as a leading corporate and as a face of Indian sport?
So I would look at it a little differently, Boria. We need to see how many athletes made it till, say, pre-quarterfinals or quarterfinals of the Olympic Games across several disciplines. It's not only about getting medals. It's like what happens to number 2 and number 3, what happens to number 4 and number 5. But the number of athletes that have reached the pre-quarters and quarters has gone up more than double according to the data that I have. And I think that in itself is great. Everybody present in this room, I'm sure, will agree with me that there is a very fine margin between a bronze medal and number 4 position. Yeah. And very often between number 1 and even number 2. And we have seen it that even with Indian athletes. I remember watching archery, and our Indian and he was competing with a Canadian archer, and both of them got all 10s. But then it, of course, boiled down to the proximity from the bull's eye. So you never know. Sometimes it's sheerly hard luck, that can keep you out of the race. So measure of success cannot always be in terms of medal, but how well we as a country have done on the whole. Of course, it is more heartening to see more medals, but we cannot be so lethal and we cannot be so heartless and say that we have not done as well as a country. So far, as a country, I'm not sure if our priorities were only in sports, but for the first time, I see that India as a nation has actually spending a lot of energy, lot of money, and lot of hard work in area of sports. You look at sponsorship, it would have gone up from 50% to 300% across disciplines. You see number of participants, that has gone up multifold. The number of aspirational districts where we work has also gone up tremendously. There are lots of corporates, lots of individuals, NGOs, and other groups working in sports. So it's only a question of time where we will see the results. And of course, Paralympics has always done well in India, and we have started supporting para table tennis as well. And I really hope that we as a country do better in Paralympics.
Yeah, that's a fair point. In fact, the archery story that you said, the difference was 2.4 millimeters. It was exactly that between the inner 10 and the 10, and I was there in the stadium. Trisha was there with me at Temps Validé, and the difference was 2.4 millimeters. Kaushik Banerjee, you and I have been sort of doing Indian sport for the last 2.5, 3 decades. Do you actually see now, do you see us as a global presence or our story being taken seriously by people around the globe, or will Rahul Todi or Vita Dani will still remain exceptions and we will still talk about, oh, India or a case for the global south 10 years down the line when we keep doing another conference here?
Yeah, thank you, Boria. I can take it off from Vita. The sheer number of India's population actually does not give the full picture. I would like to focus on 3 important points. Now, India which leads South Asia in the sporting map, particularly in case of Olympics, does not have an Olympic culture or a legacy of Olympic culture except in hockey. But it is probably in the fitness of things that Avinav Bindra has given the keynote today, because Avinav's gold medal transformed India's situation in the Olympic movement in 2008 Beijing Olympic Games. 2 major problems are to be focused upon. First, what kind of talent identification and grooming programs India have, say, in the 21st century? Now, we don't see much has been realized in this particular sphere. You don't have a central sports policy. There are several states in India. It's a mini Europe. So state-center partnership is very crucial in implementing such a policy, either at the school level, uniformly available, or not at the village or suburban level. Although India has tremendous talents in various individual sports. Secondly, sport as an important part of educational curriculum, which again is an appalling failure on the part of Indian education policy. Things are definitely improving right now, both at the level of state policy. India now has a sports policy in the new century. The public-private partnership is growing up. And most importantly, and probably the medals that are coming in the Olympic Games and also in the Paralympics now are showing the Indians, particularly the youth, the children, a new way of looking at the Olympic sports. Definitely India leads in cricket. It controls the cricket industry across the world. But now things have started changing. You have Olympic icons for the Indians, PV Sindhu, Avinav Bindra, Neeraj Chopra, and so on. And I think the same would happen probably in Pakistan with the success of Asharuddin. The last point I would like to make is probably, which does not apply simply to India but also to South Asia, is the question of political stability. Now, India probably has been able to establish its democratic structure strongly compared to its sister nations in South Asia. But if you take Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, examples are multiple where political instability connected with probably a kind of corruption, patron-client relationship plagues this particular process of developing sporting talents and nurturing them into the world stage at an international level.
Important points. Some important points, including the South Asian story there. Rahul, if I can come to you, then I'll go to Vita again. You've got investment in cricket as well, Rahul, and you now invest in Olympic and Paralympic sport. With the inclusion of cricket in the Olympics in 2028, do you think that the brand value of something like an Olympic Games, and there I connect sport, business, society together, do you think, it'll at least be exponential, it'll see exponential growth because the moment you have cricket and the whole story changes. So when you balance your investments in cricket, in women's sport and in Olympic and Paralympic sport, how do you do that, Rahul Todi?
Honestly, I mean, cricket in itself is a sport, and I think Olympic and medallion sport has been played for centuries before cricket came in. So definitely, from an Indian perspective, from a South Asian perspective, yes, cricket will help because South Asian origin people are doing well in cricket around the world, even in international leagues and international teams. So yes, but Olympic is all about all sports, So if they feel and if they are welcoming cricket, it's great for cricket. As far as our investment plans towards sports, they are more based on mass connect and affordability index. For example, today we have invested in a sport like kabaddi in India, which is a very popular sport in India. People who want to learn kabaddi, who want to start playing kabaddi, the entry barriers are quite reasonable. There is a decent, you hardly need much infrastructure for kabaddi, and there is talent available in our region on it. Besides kabaddi, we've also invested in panja because these are sports. Exceptional people will do well in sports. We always know that. You have to do this, but these are sports for the common people, and so that's where the ethos comes from. So cricket is something which I personally enjoy and love. I've been a cricket fan and a buff, but for me, sports is about inclusivity. Sports, and I've said that in the past, sports, we all wear the same jerseys. It's a matter of playing for another team, and for that 90 minutes or for the 5 days, that's it. After that, we are both individuals, and it brings equality to nothing else, at least in my feeling, brings equality more than sports, whether it's gender inclusivity, whether it's differently abled inclusivity, and that's why we are present in all sports.
Okay, let me ask 1 minute each for my three panelists, and then I will open it up for two questions. We'll have time for 2-3 questions. Kaushik, you go first. We are all talking about a possible Olympic bid in 2036. While I ask Vita and Rahul as corporates, and they will, I'm sure they'll have to be involved because they are two large corporates in the country with serious investment in sport. How do you, Kaushik Banerjee, look at a possible Indian Olympic bid? At one level, the bid will cost us $150 million. At one level, we win 6 medals. Do you think we should more invest in grassroots, develop that to maybe a potential of winning 20 medals and then bid? Do you think we should invest in a youth Olympic Games? Do you think this bid can actually galvanize the country, as Abhinav Bindra was talking about this morning? I'll ask the same question of Vita Dani and Rahul Todi. Kaushik Banerjee.
Actually, India tried to bid for the Olympic Games in the last quarter of the 20th century. It failed miserably. But probably this is high time that India thinks in terms of developing its infrastructure and invest more in the organization of games, such spectacles. But I actually don't think that it's ripe, the time is ripe for India to go for Olympic Games. India should probably move forward with the idea of organizing Asian Games again, Youth Olympic Games, and develop more, and then probably in the 2040s, it should go for the Olympic bid.
Okay. Rahul Todi, before I go to Vita and take the comment on this and then open it up. Rahul, your thoughts on the Olympic Games, because the Prime Minister is very gung-ho. We've heard PM Modi talk about it. We've seen the IOC session in Mumbai where Mrs. Ambani fronted it. We know India is very upbeat about it. Even the 15th August speech, the Prime Minister mentioned it. Your thoughts about it? Possible Olympic bid for 2036?
I mean, yes, and why not? I mean, you have today 6 today doesn't mean you won't have 76 in 2036. And look, we are in the infrastructure space. We've been in this space for a long time. We are into sports. And, it would be a dream if we would, Shachi, sports and infrastructure can be a part of that bid in some form. And definitely, and $150 million is investment at grassroots, because these money will be invested in infrastructure. Money will be invested. We've been running a Khelo India scheme, which is fairly successful. I know there are complaints, but I'm sure the investment you're talking about will flow in grassroots development. And government is very open for PPP partnerships, and they've already made have referred to PPP participation to enable India to bid successfully for that. And this is infrastructure creation, for the Olympics, then we will do much more things and much more sports.
Vita, where do you stand on a possible Olympic bid?
I think there is no better time than now to host Olympic Games for a few reasons. One is that we can really invest in grassroots programs. It's the right time where we need to talk about a fit India, a healthy India, and more than the hard infrastructure. We need to focus on the soft infrastructure. We need to focus on how much more talent can be created. And when I mean by talent, it's not only sports, it's the entire landscape. Because along with the sporting talent or athlete comes so many other equations. You look at a nutritionist, you look at a physical fitness trainer, you look at all the other paraphernalias that come with it. It will create, it will lead to job creation. And I think we need to really learn from Paris Olympics as to how it can become like a tourist hub, It can be used as a tourist destination. So I think it's only a win-win situation, except for we need to take certain necessary steps. And I'm sure India can really prove its worth.
Okay, on that note, let me open it up for questions. I've got one there with Arif. Arif, if you could just also specify which panelists you're asking to, because two of them are online.
Yes, so it's my question maybe to the lady over here who's just in front of us. My question is around strategy, really, Boria. You talk about 2036. Let me put it the other way to you. If India bids and fails, that may have a very negative impact in terms of perception and reputation. And it's still, I'm not saying it shouldn't bid, but I think if you look at what happened in Trinidad and Tobago in 2023, the media is very poor at writing about the Commonwealth when there's a good news story. Well, there was a good news story then, because the Trinidad and Tobago hosted, as a small state, the Commonwealth Youth Games, and it was a phenomenal success. So I think India, my suggestion should be, India should host the Commonwealth Youth Games at any point between now and 2036. Irrespective of whether it bids for 2036.
Okay, so let's take it there, because we are planning to host the Youth Olympic Games in 2030. So Vita, both you and Rahul, a minute each maybe, in terms of strategy. If perhaps the bid fails, then is that going to have an adverse impact, or that's part of the course and we'll bid like Paris did? They lost to London in 2012, but they got the 2024 Games. Thoughts on it? Vita first and then Rahul.
Life is all about stepping stones. So we have to dream big, we have to aim high, and we have to ask for the sky, is what I believe in. And if we fail, I wouldn't say it as a failure, but at least it's a stepping stone. It's a right step step in the right direction. And like Paris, we will succeed, if not now, later. But I'm quite confident that we will do well. And we have to continue to, host events. Like we've hosted Hockey World Cup, we have hosted Chess World Championship. Like that, we will keep trying, and I'm sure we will get the Olympic bid one day as well. Thank you.
Rahul, your thoughts on that? Perhaps a failed bid, will that impact us?
I don't think so. I mean, you will fail and then rise again. India, please remember, India hosted the Asian Games back in 1980. In today's context, if you think about it, so somebody that time took the challenge, we hosted it. I don't read any, I was very young at that time, but I don't remember much negativity around the Asian Games. We've hosted the Commonwealth Games. Yes, we've had issues in terms of pre-hosting it, but as far as the hosting and whatever happened during the games, I didn't see any complaints. And I agree with sir that we have to do Youth Commonwealth Games, Youth Asian Games, maybe another Asian Games before we do the Olympic bid. I agree. And the Youth Olympic is definitely in the plan of the government as well. So I agree, we will do 2 or 3 stepping stones before we go for the mantle.
Okay, on that note, I think the emerging India story is pretty strong there. So my concluding words before Kaushik and I go on to launch the 25th anniversary issue of Soccer and Society is to answer your question, Arif, sport teaches us what? To me, sport teaches me how to lose. Because every loss is a stepping stone to the next success. It is not about medals won or records broken. It is about a process. The process of losing, and in doing so, learning and taking the next step. The Delhi Commonwealth Games, for example, the pre-build, I thought Rahul Todi was spot on there. The build-up was wrong, was bad, was negative, you're right. But during the games, it was quite spectacular. And I think that's where the Indian media has a role, because I thought Indian Commonwealth Games in 2010 was better than the Paris Olympics conduct in 24. But the Western media will only highlight the Indian problems and not mention the problems that we saw in Paris, and I was part of the media. I know what was going on, and I thought it was pretty shambolic. Now that's a narrative that is shaped by the global West, and that's a narrative that needs to change. So I think I'll stop there. Thank my 3 panelists, Rahul Todi, Vita Dani, and Kaushik Bandyopadhyay. Thank you very, very much for your contribution. Thank you very much to this Emerging India panel.
Thank you, Boria.
Thank you so much.